You hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence keeps this blog ad-free. Hey folks, what's up? I'm Mike. This is Inkdependence. Today we're talking about Aurora ink. This ink was sent out by Kenro. They're the distributor of Aurora in the US. This is a special edition ink, and it has this little piece of brown washi tape tab situation here, and that's the only way that you know what's in this box until you take it out, which is a little unfortunate. They could have put a brown on there. It also comes with this little sticker across the top, which I of course had to tear off in order to get the get the top off, but it does have a brown area around the edges, and so even if you lose this little bit, which I just stick on the bottom of the bottle, you can tell because it's got the brown bits here, and of course you could just open it up. It's a very nice glass bottle actually, and I think it's pretty functional as well. It's got a wide enough opening and a deep enough draft that it should be able to accommodate most nibs. And I think actually when it gets low, you could probably set it on its edge. Seems like that works perfectly well, and so you can kind of get into the bottle this way. I think that'll be pretty good, but I'm not going to try that for a while because there's plenty of ink in here at 55 milliliters. Here's what that ink looks like. This is Aurora Sepia. It's a much darker ink than I usually think of as a sepia. I've never really had a super good handle on what a sepia is. It was originally a squid ink derivation, and so it was kind of like a dark brownish, but like kind of had a tan kind of, I don't know. It's a weird color, but this one seems like pretty much a medium brown to me. Still fine with the name. It seems okay. As for flow, this is important with an Aurora ink because they're kind of all over the place. Aurora traditionally only had blue and black ink, and they did those pretty well. The black was very wet, super rich, very nice ink. The blue was a little bit it was way too dry for me, honestly, and so I don't really use the blue very much. The blue-black is sort of in between, but still a little bit on the dry side. This sepia is a very nice sort of medium flow, and I've really been enjoying it in the two pens I have it in. They are these. Firstly, we have the Esterbrook. This is the Esterbrook Camden in that sort of journal, like, what do you call them, composition book finish, which actually has a little bit of a texture to it. It's kind of cool. It's also been in this, this is a journaling nib, which is done by Gina, and it's sort of a medium metallic, medium stub sort of situation, and it has been flowing in there perfectly. No problems at all. Of course, it does have the spring-loaded cap. Let me see if I can get it to pop. Yeah. There you go. And so that keeps it nice and wet, but I haven't had any problems with it in this pen either. This is a Conid Minimalistica that my wife got me for my birthday, and I really like this pen. It also flows really wet, so I wanted to see how this would do in a wet nib, and it hasn't dried out in here either. It's been doing very well. It's a very nice brown out of both of these nibs, and you can see the difference here between the two. On the page. So, as for other stuff, performance is not great on the 20-pound, 30% recycled copy paper. As you can see, it's got just a little bit of, it's got a little bit of feathering. It's got some spread here, but this is quite a wet nib, so I'm not super surprised by that. I'm a little more surprised by the by the feathering. I've really been using, since I'm working at home most of the time nowadays, I'm not using a whole lot of office paper, and so on everything else, this ink has been great. On the 20-pound, 30% recycled crap paper, though, it's like fine. It's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst I've ever seen. You definitely get a little bit of bleed through, but not a huge amount. This is, as I said before, a very wet nib of this Bach medium, but a little bit here and there from the medium journaler nib as well. Okay, as far as other things it's got going for it, qualities, a little bit of shading, fairly nice shading on this one from both nibs, I think. Less on this Rhodia paper from the Conid because it's so wet, it tends to like pool up before it dries and it makes it just kind of darker, but on other papers you do get a fair amount of that nice shading. You definitely get some more of that from the journaler nib as well. So, I actually really like this ink. It does cost $30 in this 55 milliliter bottle, which is not super cheap, but Aurora inks have never been particularly inexpensive, so I'm not terribly surprised, and I'm also not entirely sure what special edition means. It might mean that they stopped making these at some point, but I don't actually know. If that's the case, then that kind of also will bump up the price a little bit. All right, so let's do a water test right quick, then we'll look at chromatography, we'll look at it on some other papers, we'll look at it next to some other inks, all that jazz. You know the drill, you've been here before. Here we go. All right, I managed not to make a huge mess. That was good. All right, let's give it a little bit of a shimmy. Oh no, I spilled my cup of water all over my important papers, my business papers. Let's blot that up. A lot of brown coming off. Yeah, I wasn't expecting much, and it has delivered. It has delivered what I expected, which is this is not a waterproof or water-resistant ink at all. In fact, most of this text is totally gone. You've got a few, you can kind of see what it said. Like, you can sort of make that out, I suppose, but it's not great. And I was actually kind of expecting that, given that this is what the chromatography looks like. The original line was down here at the bottom, and it is like, I can't even... I guess it was right here-ish because it looks slightly less white there, but this ink is not at all water resistant. You do have some nice, like, sort of reddish brown tones, yellowy brown tones in there as well, but yeah, not water resistant. Okay, so let's look at a couple of other papers before we get to our color comparisons. This is Ink Journals. This is Tomoe River, 52 pound. Here it is with the, whoa, there we go. Here it is with the journaler nib from that Esterbrook Camden, where you get a nice bit of shading, actually a little bit of like edge shading, so you put down quite a bit of ink right there, which is kind of interesting. And then here you have it from the Conid, and from the Conid it is super dark because it's putting down a lot more ink. Although you do get this kind of like interesting edge effect, like a halo situation. Let's see. So you lose the lines of the scribble, and it just kind of like blobbed ink and then eventually dried, and you get this halo. Really interesting. All right. And then this is a currently inked notebook from Inky Fingers, my friend Matt Armstrong. And where is it? Come here. There we go. So here we have it from, let's start to do the same order. This is the Gina journaling nib right here with Aurora Sepia, and I think it looks actually really nice on here. I would say this looks a little bit better than it does on the Tomoe River, but it's because it got to soak in a little bit more. You get more of the character of the ink, I think. And then here we have it from the Conid, and again, you get more of the brown. It looks less like a black. It looked very, very dark on the Tomoe River, but here you get more of that brown character. And I kind of dig a little bit of red even up in here, like little red swoops. So yeah, it looks pretty good on there. So it works on all the papers except for the real crappy paper. Let's take a look at it next to some other colors. Okay, so here it is on a Colodex card, and you actually get a lot of nice variation in the color. You can definitely see the reddish character through the center of it there. Then let's put it next to, this is one from the Inkvent calendar, which is Diamine's Nutcracker. You can get these now in a very fancy bottle. I need to get some of those, actually. I haven't done it yet. But you see a lot of nice, like, look at that green sheen on there from this one. Nutcracker is a fair amount lighter, and it definitely tends slightly more yellow than the Aurora Sepia, which is darker and tends toward red. You've also got here, this is Diamine Bach, which I think is a very cool sort of medium brown, and you can also see a little bit more of a yellow tinge to that one. Then Monteverde Canyon Rust, which I think is a beautiful ink, and is definitely a brown that turns red or runs to the red side of brown, and it does definitely go farther toward red than Aurora Sepia does. So if you're looking for something like that, I really like Canyon Rust. I think it's a gorgeous color. Then Monteverde's Scotch Brown, which I reviewed not too long ago. It has a lot in common. I think it's a little bit lighter than Aurora Sepia, but same kind of color. So if you can't get Aurora Sepia, Scotch Brown is a pretty solid alternative. And then, lastly, Colorverse Coffee Break, which I think also runs in the same red hue range as Sepia, but dialed back a few notches, and so you get more of a brown. This kind of does look coffee-ish to me, actually. I tend to drink a lot of light roast, and this is kind of what that looks like. And I haven't actually gotten a chance to use Coffee Break. I need to check that out. I've had it for a little while, but it comes in a really nice little bottle. Okay, so that's that. Thank you for checking out this Aurora ink with me, and thank you to Kenro for sending it out for review. I've had a good time writing with it and sharing it with folks. So check these out. I've got another couple of Aurora reviews to do, but I've only just started using those inks, so I will get back to you on those. But I will have the red and the violet, which are both beautiful inks as well, coming up soon. All right, that's it. See y'all later. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Tell me about your favorite brown inks, because I dig brown inks. In fact, finding color comparisons for this is actually kind of hard, because I'm like, well, I can just show every brown, man. I mean, take 3 hours, but I can show them all. They're great. Brown inks are rad, man. Okay, that's it. I will see y'all later. Peace out.